Hey, this is Conrad from Mockingbird Marketing. One interesting thing about me that you don't know is that I've had 5 knee surgeries.
And I'm Gyi from Attorney Sync. And one interesting thing about me is that I once ate 30 Blimpie burgers.
In one sitting?
Yes.
All right. Hey, Gyi, I see in your background, you got a new sign back there. I love it.
I did. I'm trying to one-up you because you've had your excellent signage. And sadly, mine's a neon sign. And it doesn't work well on the camera, but I'll also throw some pictures up. It looks awesome in person, and I'm from my iPhone, but recording on my video camera doesn't look so hot.
All right, so I like when you fail on the one-up attempt on the technology side,
Totally.
even although hardly technology. But listen, the reason I called that out, I think we talk a lot about having your brand and your logo everywhere. You and I spend a lot of time on camera. A lot of lawyers spend some time on camera. Oh yeah, we got the Lunch Hour Legal Marketing logo on your sweatshirt there. But it's a really easy way, if you're going to spend time on camera, to throw the logo behind you. Mine is frankly, it's just a sticker that we had custom printed. And we're not being paid by this company, but maybe we should. GetWallDrop.com will do a really professional looking background with a logo for you. So it's a great way to keep your logo in front of people as if you tend to spend any amount of time in front of a camera.
Conrad, what else will we be talking about today?
Well, as always, we're going to start with the news, a little juicy news segment. And then this is, if you know Gyi, this is thematic to Gyi. We're going to be talking about links. And if you don't know why...
Hit it! Oh, JK, Conrad's still talking.
Hit it!
Welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing, teaching you how to promote, market, and make fat stacks for your legal practice. Here on Legal Talk Network.
We're going to start with news, and then we're going to talk more about links. All right, Gyi, we have talked recently about mergers and acquisitions. What is going on in the technology M&A world?
Well, Places Scout was acquired by Yext, and Places Scout, for those that aren't familiar, is a really fantastic, in my opinion, local SEO tool. I think it's a huge pickup by Yext. Congratulations to, I think, both parties here.
Who's going to pay the cost,
But
Gyi?
I think, right, as we've talked about in the past, these acquisitions tend not to mean cheaper subscription prices for users. And so I will be watching very closely what happens to our Places Scout pricing as this acquisition rolls out.
All right, I have a question for you, Gyi.
Yes, Conrad.
You are our surreptitious man on the inside at the American Bar Association. Can you tell me why they decided to pick a fight with Donald Trump yesterday?
Well, I do not view them as picking a fight with Donald Trump. I view them as standing up for one of the 3 branches of our government, that being the judiciary. But if you're a lawyer and you're listening to this, I don't care what your politics are. You should be out there educating your community about how the government is supposed to work, checks and balances, judicial review, and yada, yada, yada. Go back to take your Con Law 1 book off of your shelf, go reread it, and go tell the world about why the ABA is standing up for the judiciary.
Well, the judiciary still exists. All right, Gyi, I had a miserable weekend getting hit up by a bunch of clients. I suspect you had a miserable weekend as too. I believe this is 2 out of 3 miserable weekends brought to us by the people from Mountain View. This time it involved the apparent disappearance of people's Google reviews en masse. What on earth happened?
Well, I think two things happened, and I'll be honest, I'm in the minority position because in the chatter, the back room chatter of the local SEO community, most people saw that the review count, so the number of reviews on their Google business profile went down. So just for keeping it easy, say you had 100 reviews, all of a sudden you had 80 reviews. In some cases, it was much worse than that. You went from 100 to it was only showing you had the count was showing you had 10. Now, upon investigation, many people were like, well, the reviews are actually still there. They're just not showing up in the count. But I will tell you that I received reports from people that unfortunately want to remain anonymous because they told me that they wanted to be anonymous, that actual reviews were missing too. And so I believe two things are happening here. The new thing is that this review count bug was going on, that Google acknowledged. They said there's a problem with it. They're fixing it. In fact, as of this recording, many of these issues are starting to resolve. But the other thing that's not new is that Google does filter out reviews that it thinks violate their policy guidelines. And so the patterns that were brought to my attention were reviews that were submitted at the same time and co-located, lawyers reviewing other lawyers, firms that had high velocity. So all of a sudden they went from not getting very many reviews to a bunch of reviews at the same time. Those reviews, it has been reported, have been removed, but that's something Google's been doing regularly. Whether there was a big push, TBD, but certainly that was brought to my attention that it was not just the counts being off, the actual reviews were removed.
And to further that point, there were your scores. Scores were changing over this weekend.
Yeah,
right. And that only
scores
happens...
are going to change if the scores are going to change
Sure.
if the count is not counting all of the reviews, right? Because if it's not counting, say you got 5s and a couple 4s, and it stops counting 4s, then your score is going to go up. And vice versa. If it stops counting 5s, your score will go down.
Okay, you're saying that the change in the scores could be endemic of the miscounting as opposed to a change in the actual reviews.
Yeah, so you can check this for yourself. If all of your reviews are still there, and your score changed and your count changed, that's a reflection that it was due to the count. If you have actual reviews missing, then of course your score is going to change as well. So your score can change for either of those reasons.
Okay. Now, we are going to get a little bit into links. And we're coming back to this. This is one of my favorite things. This is why I really liked SEO from the beginning. Interesting post from the Ahrefs blog about Google says links matter less. And there was a study done on this by Ahrefs. What came out of that study, Gyi?
So a lot, and we'll put a link in the show notes, and I'm very grateful for this post. It's very well done. But the thing that I want to focus on today is that for local queries, links have an extremely high correlation with ranking, which is something that I've been saying for a long time, despite both Google and the Google, what I call the sycophant Google SEO crowd, who just parrots what Google says as SEO gospel. And again, I'll stop there because I know we're going to talk more deeply about this.
Okay. If you're watching us on YouTube, please take a moment to like and subscribe. Keep the conversation going. Leave us a comment. Ask us a question. We do not have a question to respond to this time. So throw something at us and see what we will answer. If you'd like to learn more about links, we're going to go way back. We'll make sure this is in the show notes. The show notes. Not to be confused with donuts. The show notes. We'll throw a link for Is Link Building Worth It Anymore? Top 10 Link Building Tips, which we recorded 3 years ago and is still, Gyi and I would both argue, very materially relevant.
The short version of this segment is Metlinks, which is something that I am very proud. That's become somewhat of a tagline for me. And I wanted to explain to folks what I mean by Metlinks, and then we're going to dive into debunking some common link building myths. So forever, as far as I can remember, we would get links for clients and all of a sudden they'd start ranking better. Now, I'm not a search engineer. I don't work at Google. I'm not a big data scientist person. I'm not running these correlation studies. I just knew that we got certain types of links, sites ranked better. And so over the years, as reflected by things like the Whitespark local search ranking factor study, a survey, and other places, people started saying, I think links matter less. And my thing was like, look, I get it. Google's evolving. There are new signals. Some factors seem to be growing in importance. And so maybe as an overall slice of the pie, links might not be as big of a contribution as they were when it was purely PageRank algorithm. But I'd always say, all things being equal, links, because the links still seem to be the competitive differentiator. That's the thing, that's the gatekeeper. That's the hardest thing to do, is to actually get another website to link to your website, especially in an editorial context or a local context. So that's what I've meant by links. Conrad, what common link building myths have you heard over the years?
Well, there's certainly the reduction in the value of links. Specifically, I want to narrow this down into localized queries and localized links, because in many cases we miss that nuance. And almost all of you are working on a very localized business. And so can you explain what we mean by localized links and why some of the traditional link building measurements ... may not actually be helpful?
Well, I am going to qualify by saying relevant links.
Okay.
And I am going to qualify relevant links with two subcategories of relevant links.
Okay.
Topically relevant links or thematically relevant links, and locally relevant links, which is what I think you were alluding to in terms of like local links. And so the myth here, in my opinion, is that just go out and get authoritative links from any source, right? Go get links from all of the largest, most authoritative sites on the internet. And it doesn't matter the domain authority or the trust authority or whatever these third-party tool metrics are that try to measure authority of sites. That's what your focus is on. And to me, and I've been saying this for years, that is a huge myth that those will help you rank, or that they're, certainly anybody that's arguing that they're more valuable. In my opinion, the topically, thematically relevant and locally relevant links move the dial a lot more for localized queries than the domain authority links do.
So can you I'm going to say this back to you, and then I want you to give an example. What you're saying, Gyi, is that just because a website has a high domain authority, which has sometimes been used to price the value or even the cost of acquiring that link, just because it has a high domain authority, you don't think that's going to help in search? Why on earth would that be the case, sir?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. The first reason is that domain authority is a made-up score. It has, it's loosely trying to be based on concepts and notions of PageRank. But Google doesn't use domain authority in any context to understand the quality of a link. Number two is that you can inflate your domain authority artificially. There are all sorts of things you can do. So, we get these emails. We got DR or DA or whatever it is, 70 sites that we're selling links to. Well, those high domain authority sites, they're not even real. They're private blog networks. They're all sorts of weird stuff, but they found a way through building links to these sites to inflate the the domain authority or PageRank or whatever you want to call it. And so there's not going to, in those two contexts, it should be obvious to everyone why Google is actively trying not to give credit to sites that are artificially manipulating those types of metrics. But the thing that I think about is this, and again, not a search engineer, but I'm like, for any query, any given query you type into Google, say you do Detroit car accident lawyer, you want to know how you know what the most relevant sites that Google thinks are, the most relevant pages? What are they? How would you determine the most relevant pages in Google's mind for any particular query?
I would see what shows up in Google's queries.
Right. The pages that Google returns.
It's almost like it's too easy.
And guess what you see in there? You see legal directories, especially legal directories optimized for those location pages. You see obviously competitors. And so my attitude is that go, not only just when you're doing this prospecting for link opportunities, don't just use your, lower funnel target queries, but get into the, tangentially related types of queries. What are other things that people that might be your clients, what are they looking for in the local community? What are other businesses in the local community? Because I think localized link building we've seen has been very powerful. And even if you're like, look, I want to get this indirect benefit from an SEO standpoint, from a link standpoint, when you show up on these other sites, you're part of the conversation. Other machines are seeing that you're part of the conversation. It's good from a branding standpoint. It's good from a local engagement standpoint. So there's a lot of additional benefits than just the quote unquote link equity to getting links on both these topically and locally relevant pages.
So I think one of the reasonable questions that people would ask is, how does Google know that this website is reflective of, Atlanta, Georgia, or Issaquah, Washington? And it's actually, there's a lot of signals that can be used to tie a website to a physical location. And you guys already know those things because those websites are tied frequently to a Giggle business profile. That's a funny business profile. The Google business profile is much more widely used. But I was trying to make a joke, Gyi, and you're just looking at me like I was trying to cover my word slip, and you're just failing.
It's
all right.
It was not funny.
Good. It was not funny. That was me attempting to throw a dad joke in the middle of the podcast to cover up a verbal slip. I might have to cut this. Anyway, my point being, your Google business profile or a Google business profile is frequently tied to a location. There's also markup, as well as things like your phone number and address that are often contained on your website. So it is
anchor text, the HTML of the page, URL structure. There's all sorts of things there are many signals that can help them understand the locality.
It is very easy for a computer to figure out that this website is tied to this specific location. And so I think that tends to be overlooked because it's so much easier to look for a 0 to 100 score of a bullshit number like domain rank and be like, this is valuable or not.
Let me give you another myth.
Go, hit me.
Quantity versus quality.
Okay.
So the myth is I need a lot of links. Myth? Not myth.
Well, you need a lot of quality links depending on on what you're trying to do.
A lot of quality links.
So
why don't you define what you mean by a lot of quality links?
Okay, and that's I was going to turn this around and Socratically ask you the exact same question. So I'm gonna give kind of three facets to this. Okay, quality links. You already talked about two of those elements. There is and we're very much speaking about local search here. We're very much talking about, or localized queries, right? And all of you are running a localized business. So you are you're playing against the directories, but you are playing a different game than the directories because they have nationwide coverage. And that is fundamentally different. Okay. And we can argue why Google has the makeup of the SERPs that are for low funnel terms like family lawyer, why there is a mix of directories and small businesses, and the differentiation between those two is really seen in their link profile. You're never going to catch up to Avo's domain rank, or DR, DA, whatever you want to call it. But you can still compete against them because Google is really looking to put a mix of localized businesses and directories into those queries. Okay, because some people are looking for a directory to make comparisons, and some people are looking for a business to learn and contact. Okay, so sorry, this is a very long-winded tangent to your question. What do you mean by quality links? There is location associated with that. That in and of itself is super valuable in indicating that you are playing the game within a specific geography. There is relevance. So that can be For example, if you are doing birth injuries and you have a bunch of links from medical sites, right? That is relevant to what you do. And then, hate it or not, there is value in getting links from places like the New York Times. And so I don't want to suggest that there's no value in those really, really strong sites. I think that may be overstated, but you go get a bunch of links, and I've done this for law firms. We'll turn a big news story into a massive link building opportunity, which is why I personally like doing SEO more than anything else. That's why I enjoy this game. You do that, you can be somewhat untouchable, right? For a while. And so I look at those links. Now, the contrapositive is, what is a bad link, right? The business directory from the Ukraine, not going to help you all that much, right? And so there's lots of garbage, crappy links. But on the quality, I would really talk about local relevancy. And then there is some value in the big guys.
I generally agree with that. I would say this, if you're going to look for an indirect leading indicator of link growth success, I am mostly interested in growth of linking root domains versus overall link numbers, because getting 1,000 million links from the same site in a site-wide footer link is not as valuable, in my opinion, as getting 100 from 100 different websites, especially if they're local and relevant. I will also say this, that, if you're in a competitive market, say, you're in a major city, you're in PI, you need to have a competitive number of total linking root domains. But I will say this, we have seen instances where less linking root domains, but from much more quality sites, can win the day over sites that have been established with many, many more linking root domains, but they tend not to be localized or topically relevant, or someone's been doing some of the link building that Conrad is talking about with directories from Uzbekistan or something like that.
We always pick on Uzbekistan.
It's poor Uzbekistan. Here's another one for you. I have to make all of my anchor text match my target query. Is that a myth? What do you think, where you land on anchor text?
Let's first define anchor text. If you want to rank for pencils and a link to your website says pencils, it's going to help you rank for the term pencils. Now, this was grossly abused by SEOs. And I want to say 10 years ago, there was kind of a pushback on anchor text spam. Okay. Having said that, anchor text still matters. It does.
Absolutely.
It does have an impact. I think if
you want to know the best anchor text is when you've changed your business name to throwaway anchors are fine too, but I'll tell you in my opinion, the best, because this is very hard to distinguish. You changed your name from Conrad's law firm to Conrad Personal Injury Attorneys, and your anchor text is Conrad Personal Injury Attorneys, because you're getting the benefit of the brand link as well as the non-brand anchor text.
Little tactic brought to you by Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. So sorry,
but to Conrad's point, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, because I thought you were leading me down the path of anchor text doesn't matter, Conrad.
No, I'm not leading you in that direction.
Okay, good. I do not want to lead our listeners in that direction.
But what I would say is this. I think to me, the myth is that you've got every one of your anchors. The only valuable anchors are the ones that match your queries. And I would say that's a huge mistake. And as you alluded to, I think that's a huge signal for Google to say these are links that we should be totally discounting. And don't be afraid of these throwaway type of anchors like click here or home or contextual anchors that have nothing to do with the actual query you're trying to optimize. Google is able to understand that quality link profiles include a mix of all of these different types of anchors.
Money makes a it makes a world go round. Money makes a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round. Money makes a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round. Money makes a world go round. Yeah, money make a world go round.